Maikel.
I love my dad. My dad's the man, or at least he thinks he is anyways. He's very confident, loud, and he loves to crack jokes. Pretty much the opposite of me. But despite all of that, we share a special connection. And the reason it's so special is because of the experiences we've both gone through, some of which I will share with you all today. Experiences that have taught me lessons you won't find in a book or in a classroom. Experiences that have shaped me into the person who proudly stands before you all today. My first experience takes us back to when I was in primary school. I was around 9 years old at the time. A bit of background to this story: at a young age, my dad used to push me to exercise and train. As I really enjoyed my sports and obviously wanted to do well, and more importantly, my dad wanted me to do the best I could, he would get me to do all sorts of training activities that would hurt a lot. I hated every minute of it, but I never said a word about how much I hated it or complained. But deep down, I never had a real desire to do any of this stuff. My attitude towards this training was never right. So anyways, one night my dad took me to this steep, long hill around my area called the Bullock Track. It was winter at about 6:30 at night, so it was cold and dark, and this was the last thing that I wanted to do on a winter's night. All I wanted to do was just eat and sleep, but no, I was in the car on my way to run this hill by myself with nobody but my dad watching. So we get there, and I've already got an angry look on my face because I don't want to be there. But he ignores it, and he tells me to start running. So I hop out of the car, and I start running. I spent the first little part of the hill because I'm still pretty annoyed. But after the adrenaline wears off, I begin feeling the pain. And I know my dad hates it when I walk or stop, so I keep going until I get to the top. As I walk back down, my dad signals for me to go again, and again, and again, and again, and again, until finally, on the 5th rep, I can remember I get halfway up the hill, and I stop. At this point, I'm still angry, now very tired, and I just want to give up. I start crying, and if there's one thing my dad hates more than when I walk or stop, it's when I cry. So anyways, I keep going, trying to hide my tears, and as I reach the top, I take a few breaths, wipe my face, and I try to calm myself down. But as I make my way down the track, I can see my dad moving around. Usually he just stands there and yells at me to don't stop or keep going, so this was a bit unusual. I then realized he was getting into the car. And I'm thinking, yes, my dad's taking it easy, he's gonna let me off. But as I get to the bottom, my dad starts the car and begins to back up. I thought maybe this was just him trying to be funny. As I said before, he likes to crack jokes. But he keeps reversing out onto the road. And then he starts driving away. And as he's driving away, he yells out, "Run home." Now I'm fuming, I'm thinking, is he really gonna leave me here after I've done all of that? Is he actually gonna make me run home just because I was crying? Yep. I start running. The whole run home, I'm crying, I'm muttering under my breath, kicking the ground, you name it, I was probably doing it. And just my luck, as I start running, it starts to rain. So as you can imagine, I'm not happy, I'm tired, wet, cold, and sore. And again, I'm only 9, so I'm pretty young. After half an hour or so, I finally get home, and I don't feel like speaking to anybody. But lo and behold, who's there sitting on the couch waiting for me? My dad. He waves me over, so I angrily slump myself on the couch. There's some deadly silence between us. But then he eventually breaks it with a question. Now, why do you think I did that, Mikey? I had some other things on my mind, but I didn't have a clue as to why he would make his 9-year-old son run home on a winter's night. So I shrugged my shoulders, and he then says something to me I will always remember. "Son, I could tell your attitude wasn't right. If you want to be good at something, you have to work for it. It all starts with your attitude. You need to have the right attitude, and you didn't. All of my experiences from that moment have taught me that my dad was 100% right. I realized that if you wanted to achieve your goals, do well in anything, it will all start with your attitude. I realized that if I wanted to do well in my sports, my schoolwork, it would always start with me having the right attitude. So this is the first lesson. In everything you do this year, whether it be a team you want to make, or even something as simple as an assignment you need to get done, it will always start with your attitude. If you get that right, the rest will follow. The second experience I want to share takes us back to 1984, when my dad was in fourth form, or year 10, over at Mount Albert Grammar School. My dad had set a goal in year 9, the previous year, to make this team at school. So for over 5 months and all summer, my dad trained hard every day to make this team. His attitude was right, his mindset was spot on. He worked extremely hard to accomplish this goal. And to his excitement, he achieved it. Fast forward 4 games, and this team was winless, lost by an average of 20 points every game. And to make matters worse, my dad wasn't even playing. He wasn't even on the bench. He wasn't even in the squad. He was the linesman for every single game. But my dad didn't say too much. Despite turning up to every practice and putting in all of that extra work, he turned up and ran the flags with no complaint. On the 5th game, the team needed transport to play out at Cowston Boys, so my grandfather volunteered to help, only to find out that once again, my dad would be the linesman. My dad's confidence dropped even more. So seeing this, my grandfather told my dad to go and ask the coach why he wasn't playing. But my dad told him that it's okay, and that he just wanted to go home. He didn't want to play rugby anymore. But instead of taking my dad home, my grandfather decided to go and ask the coach himself. My dad insisted that it was okay, not wanting to cause trouble, and that they should just leave. But no, my grandfather still went and talked to the coach. Luckily, the coach agreed to give my dad 1 half to show what he could do. Fast forward a few weeks, and that ended up being the last game he played for that team, as the coaches of the first 15 picked him up to be in their squad. My grandfather gave some sound advice to my dad that day. He told him that you trained so hard to a point that I know you have worked harder than everybody else in that team. You know you deserve that chance, that opportunity to play. You know you're good enough, so back yourself. Have confidence in your ability and back yourself. So lesson number 2, back yourself. If you know you've had the right attitude, you've put in the work, whether it be for an exam, a show you're about to perform in, or even a goal you just want to achieve, have confidence in your ability. Don't sit back and watch your opportunities go to waste, or because you don't believe in yourself. Don't rely on others to speak up for you. If you know you're the man, then go and be the man. You are all more capable than you think. Always back yourself. My last experience is the most recent one. This happened last year, around March, April, right when COVID hit. It was a Friday afternoon, and as usual, I was getting picked up by my dad, as I didn't and still don't have my license. Nah. It was the weekend, so I was, keen to get home, relax, and just chill. But as I hopped into the car, I felt something wasn't right. If you know my dad personally, he is usually a very lighthearted and happy person. And although I could tell he was trying to put on a brave face, I've known him long enough to know something wasn't right. We're not even that far into the journey home, and I can see tears welling and forming in my dad's eyes. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen your parents or someone you love and care about cry, but it is something you never like to see. So I asked him how his day was, and as I was expecting, he says it was pretty tough. He tries to say something, but he just starts crying. And I can see why my dad didn't like it when I cried, because when I see him crying, I almost immediately start crying as well. And I don't even know why we're crying yet. But there's a bit of silence as my dad tries to fight the tears. But then he finally says, "Son, I think I might lose my job." Now I'm completely shocked. I'm just sitting there, also crying, confused with so many questions I want to ask him, but the biggest of them all, why? I knew my dad wouldn't do anything at work that would put his job at risk. I knew he worked tirelessly every day. I knew he worked harder than everybody else there. I knew he was good to his colleagues. I knew that the people around him liked him. I knew he always had a great attitude. I knew he was confident in his ability. So why was this happening to him? Why was he getting his job taken off him? Why was life punishing someone who deserved better? The more I thought about it, the whole situation was unfair. At this point, I'm actually crying more than my dad, as I know he has gone through so much to get where he is now. I know he has climbed hills bigger than I ever have, and has gone through more than I probably ever will. And yet here I was, my life was fine, going to one of the best schools in New Zealand, and here he was, about to lose his job. But then, despite me saying all of this, my dad stops me, and he says, "Son, it's all right." I'm angry at my dad now because none of this was all right. But he then goes and shares the third and final lesson, the most important lesson I believe both you and me can ever learn in life. He goes, "I'm really sorry. Sometimes when you talk about experiences, like the same emotions you had, they can evoke." It doesn't matter. I've gone through this before, and I'll do it again. If I lose my job, I'll do everything I can to find another one. If I keep my job, I'll do everything I can to make sure I hold on to it. But son, I want you to learn something from this. I want you to learn to never, ever give up. You may do everything possible to achieve something. You may have done everything right. You may have all the confidence in the world. You may know you deserve this, yet life still doesn't give it to you. But that doesn't matter. You get up and you keep going. You do everything possible again. And if you fail again, you get up and you keep going. Fail again, get up and keep going. Don't ever stop. Don't ever give up. Thankfully, my dad didn't end up losing his job. But those words will forever be etched in my mind. This year, and for the rest of your life, there will be times when you succeed. But there will also be times when you fail. At times, life will be unfair. You may do everything possible. You may study all day and night for an exam and still fail to get what you want. You may know you've trained harder than everybody else to make a sports team and still not get picked. You may put in hours and hours of practice to make a band and still not make the cut. You may come back the next year, train, play, work, study even harder, and still not achieve your goal. Your attitude, your work ethic may be perfect. You may have all the belief in your ability, and life still isn't rewarding you for any of it. Life may still continue to knock you down. But that doesn't matter. When you're on the ground, you get up and you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going, and you keep going. You never, ever give up on your dreams. And if you do this, I promise you that whatever you set out to achieve this year and for years to come, you will get there in the end. We're just Paulette.